Imagining children committing unspeakable crimes is almost impossible, yet it's a harsh reality. Many juvenile offenders have committed acts so severe that they were tried as adults. Some crumbled into tears as they heard their sentences. Others stared defiantly, showing no hint of remorse. These stories aren't for the faint-hearted. They expose the unsettling depths of juvenile crime. Reactions range from shocking defiance to gut-wrenching heartbreak. While their families could do nothing but watch, these youths were judged and punished for their actions. Here's a glimpse into the raw emotions that surfaced when these teenagers learned their fate. Number 1. Jackson and Thomas. In May 2014, Jackson and Thomas planned to rob Nathan Potter, a University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee student, as he was heading home after a night out with friends. They approached Potter and demanded his wallet, but when he informed them he had no money, Jackson shot and killed him. During the trial, Jackson showed no remorse and even smiled sarcastically at Potter's family while being escorted from the courtroom. This callous behavior enraged Potter's family and friends, who were present to witness the sentencing. Jackson was found guilty of first-degree murder and robbery and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His violent outburst following the sentencing, along with his family's reaction, drew heightened attention in the courtroom. The judge's decision to impose life without parole sparked mixed reactions. Some found it fitting for the crime, while others argued for leniency. Yet, Jackson's lack of remorse and behavior convinced the judge he remained a threat, warranting the harshest sentence. Number 2. Danta Wright. Wright, a 17-year-old high school student, was involved in the fatal shooting of 18-year-old Jordan Cly in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He had pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and carrying a concealed weapon after attempting to rob Cly at gunpoint with 2 others in December 2016. During his sentencing, Wright showed no remorse, smiling and nearly laughing throughout the hearing. The judge, visibly frustrated by Wright's demeanor, reprimanded him for his lack of responsibility and respect. "Seeing you there smiling, laughing, and shaking your head as if this is no big deal," the judge stated, "I am tempted to reject this sentencing agreement. We will go to trial, and if convicted, you will go to prison for the rest of your life. That means you will die there. That is what I am tempted to do." Despite his young age, Wright was sentenced to 25 to 52 years in prison, with the judge condemning his actions as heinous and inexcusable. His co-defendants, Lamarius Ellison and Del Radio, also received prison sentences for their roles in the crime. Wright remained emotionless throughout, his lack of remorse drawing significant media attention alongside his disrespectful courtroom behavior. During the sentencing, Clay's family shared their grief, with his father calling Wright a monster and a coward, and his mother describing an unfillable void left by her son's death, saying they would never fully recover from their loss. Number 3. John Freeman. A New York teenager was sentenced to 22 years to life in prison for the murder of 5-year-old Isabella Tennant. Freeman lured Isabella to a secluded area, assaulted her with a rock, and then hid her body under debris to cover up his crime. His troubled background included a history of mental health issues, substance abuse in his family, and a previous stay in a psychiatric facility for threatening to kill his sister. Freeman pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and tampering with evidence. The judge called the crime heinous and noted Freeman's lack of remorse. At sentencing, Freeman showed no emotion and declined to speak. Isabella's family, however, voiced their grief and anger, with her mother calling him a monster and her aunt vowing that Isabella would never be forgotten. The case left the community in shock and mourning over the senseless loss of an innocent child. Number 4. Sierra Halset and Aaron Guerrero. Sierra Halset and Aaron Guerrero, both 18, were sentenced to life in prison without parole for the brutal murder of Halset's father, Daniel. The couple planned the crime for weeks, ultimately stabbing the victim multiple times and dismembering his body. Halset and Guerrero, who had been dating for several months, grew up in Las Vegas. Guerrero had a troubled past with drug addiction and legal issues, while Halset was known as an outstanding student with no criminal record. The pair pleaded guilty to charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and armed robbery, and were sentenced in June 2021. During the sentencing hearing, both showed little emotion. Halset smiled at the cameras, while Guerrero stared blankly. The victim's family expressed their pain and anger, with Daniel's mother describing the crime as horrific and unimaginable. Halset and Guerrero remained stoic as the judge delivered their sentences, with no visible reaction from either of them. The case shocked the Las Vegas community and drew national attention, underscoring the gravity of their crime and their life sentences without parole. Number 5. Nikolas Cruz. Nikolas Cruz, the American gunman behind the 2018 Parkland school shooting, was sentenced to life without parole for his horrific crime. Born on September 24, 1998 in Florida, Cruz was adopted young and faced a troubled childhood marked by behavioral issues and multiple mental health diagnoses, including depression, ADHD, and autism. After being expelled from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, he returned on February 14, 2018, armed with an AR-15 rifle and killed 17 people while injuring 17 others. He fled the scene but was later arrested and confessed to the crime. Cruz offered to plead guilty in exchange for life imprisonment, but this was rejected by the prosecution. In 2019, a jury convicted him of all charges, sentencing him to life without parole. Cruz remained emotionless during sentencing, and in a statement expressed remorse, claiming he lived with nightmares and deep regret. However, the victims' families found his apology unconvincing, with some expressing anger over the sentence, feeling it was too lenient. One parent remarked, "I hope he receives from inmates the same mercy he showed my daughter and the other 16. Number 7. Nathan Paape. Antonio Barbo and his friend Nathan, both just 13, committed a shocking crime in September 2012 in Chimboide, Wisconsin. They planned to rob Barbo's great-grandmother, 78-year-old Barbara Olson. Breaking into her home, they attacked her with an axe and left her to die, stealing money and other items before fleeing. Arrested and charged with first-degree intentional homicide, Barbo was sentenced in 2013 to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 35 years, while Nathan received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Both were tried as adults due to the severity of their crime. In court, Olson's family expressed their deep pain and loss, while Barbo's family apologized for his actions. Antonio, now 14, was visibly emotional, crying as he faced the reality of his life sentence. His reaction highlighted the devastating consequences of his actions and the severity of his punishment. Number 8. Jennifer Mee. Jennifer Mee, known as the Hippo Girl due to her chronic illness, gained fame through appearances on popular American TV shows, including NBC's Today Show. However, her life took a dark turn when she was arrested in 2010. In 2013, Jennifer was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment without parole for her involvement in the death of 22-year-old Shannon Griffin. At 19, Jennifer lured Griffin to a location where two accomplices robbed and fatally attacked him. Although Jennifer's defense argued she didn't intend for Griffin to be harmed and was unaware that her accomplices were armed, the prosecution contended she was actively involved in planning and executing the crime. Jennifer's story was recounted by author M. William Phelps in his 2016 book, which reignited national attention on her shift from media star to convicted criminal. The severity of her sentence has been controversial, with some arguing that her punishment would have been different if she were a man.